Welcome back to the Joust About Careers podcast, where you can learn about careers from the people who are actually doing the work every day. I'm your host, Brian Brott, and this week's highlights feature Alan Molyet, a 2010 Van Buren graduate who is a senior 340B coordinator at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. The highlights focus on what a 340B coordinator actually does, how a person can go into pharmacy administration instead of becoming a pharmacist, and how Alan has continued to officiate soccer games while having a career. If you want to learn more about Alan's career journey, you can always watch or listen to his full interview, and if you find this podcast useful, please share it with someone else who could benefit from it. Enjoy the highlights, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new episode.
First off, I guess, so 340B, it's a federal drug pricing program. It's not well known. It's a weird niche. It's definitely not something that a 12-year-old would say, yeah, like this is what I want to do when I grow up. Just something that a lot of people kind of fall into. So there's different arms of the program. So when I worked at ProMedica before, I kind of worked on the hospital side of this program. Now I kind of moved over to the grantee side. So now I work for the Ryan White Clinic here at Ohio State, Wexner. So the rules are a little bit different, but essentially the goal of the program is the same, which is essentially drug prices vary greatly. I guess I'll go back and forth because I'm so used to, working on the hospital side for a little over 6 years, but essentially there's different price points that you can buy drugs at for outpatient drugs. You have 340B, which is usually 30 to 40% cheaper than the WAC price, and the WAC is wholesaler acquisition cost, and then GPO is a group purchasing organization where it's just a slightly cheaper way you can contract in to different groups like Vizient and similar ones to get cheaper contracted drug prices for your health system. So that's one way to start thinking about it, is that 340B gives large discounts in drug pricing. So the way that health systems and grantees enter the program, there are a lot of requirements. You have to register online. It only allows you to register a new location each quarter. So, April 1st through April 15th. HRSA is the government program that administers this the 340B program. So I try not to get too far in the weeds of all this stuff, but essentially they allow us to save a lot of money on these drug costs, and essentially what we're supposed to do with that money is put it back into the community / into our patients. So if there's any underserved, there's uninsured or underinsured patients, we're supposed to kind of be using this money to put it back into different programs to help them. I think when I was about 12 years old, I just said, I had a cousin who was about 6 years older than me. He started at the University of Toledo, and he wanted to be a pharmacist. So back when I was 12, I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll just try to do that, to be a pharmacist. I didn't take very long into undergrad, probably 2 semesters, 3 semesters in, and I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do. I thought more about it. I shadowed at a pharmacy. I looked at more closely at the course load and the course and what kind of classes you would take in the PharmD program. And I just was like, this kind of sounds miserable to me. It wasn't exactly that. And I think a lot of people could relate it. The first major they choose isn't exactly what they wanted to do. So essentially I got to the portion where you have to sit for an interview just to get into the PharmD program. So at UT, it's 2+4. Essentially. So your first 2 years, you're doing all the pre-pharmacy things, and then during your sophomore year, you have to interview, versus at Ohio Northern or University of Findlay. Once you're in the beginning, you're in, But when I chose Toledo, I kind of, in a way, it took a chance because, you get 2+4, but it was also a lot cheaper to go to a public university. Anyway, so by the time I sat in that interview my sophomore year, I was just sitting there thinking, like, please don't let me in, because I might honestly just tell you no, because I was just so like, and again, I didn't get in, so I'm not trying to sit here and say like, oh, I got in, but I just chose not to. But I was like, I probably would have chosen not to. So no, I didn't end up getting in anyway, which I was like a relief to me, because at that time, this is not what I wanted to do anymore. And luckily, UT. So if you don't get into PharmD and you want to stay in like the pharmacy world, there's some different degree tracks you could choose. They're called BSPS degrees, so Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences. I chose pharmacy administration because I always felt like I thought about switching majors completely to like finance or whatever, but it would have taken me an extra year. And I was just kind of like, let me kind of stay in this pharmacy world, but let me be on kind of like the admin path. Some of the other ones were pharmacology, toxicology. I could have chosen medicinal chemistry, pharmaceutics, or they had a new program within cosmetic science. I'm not sure if there are similar degrees across Ohio. I know that we were pretty unique. I'd have to look and see if Ohio State has, similar degrees to what I had, but essentially I just wanted to start there just to give you an idea of like how everything started for me. I did start refereeing soccer, youth soccer, when I was about 14 years old. So it's been a long time. I've had a lot of experience and a lot of growing pains and a lot of all of those things within it. As far as balancing, I think I got really lucky at ProMedica because I kind of made it apparent that I cared about this and that I wanted to do it. You get vacation like anywhere else. Some people, I would get the idea that some coworkers are like, oh, you can't like take vacation to work another job. And I'm like, I can kind of, in my opinion, you can take a vacation to do whatever you want. You don't have to tell them exactly what you're doing.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, like I would use vacation, I would use half days. And because a lot of college games, especially around Northwest Ohio, they kick off at 3 or 4 p.m. So in order to be able to do that, yeah, you do have to take vacation because they don't have lights. It's kind of partially why they kick off early. So yeah, it's a lot of, I've missed meetings. I feel like there's definitely push and pull, but the other thing about a day job and a career is you just have to understand that you have to figure out, where you can, how much you can get. I want to say how much you can get away with, but really, there's a push and pull there too. Because I mean, you hear it on LinkedIn, you hear about this grind culture, and we should be working 50, 60 hours a week. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard and try to figure out what you need to do, but at the same time, the work-life balance matters. And that always mattered a lot to me. The other thing with I feel like with our generation and younger is people will job hop a lot more. And there's incredible positives to that. You have a lot of different experiences in different, sectors of the industry that you're in. You get pay raises theoretically every time you jump, if that's one of your prerequisites for making that change. And those are all good. I think for me, like I worked at ProMedica for 9 years, because Paramount was owned by ProMedica. So it's essentially the same company. The positives of that were I had more vacation. They were flexible with me. I stayed for a reason because they allowed me to referee soccer, and it was something that I cared about a lot. Especially when I was younger. So I was able to do a lot of traveling in my personal time. I know this is about about our careers, but I'm just like willing to let you know that you don't have to. It doesn't have to be your life, I guess. So when I have soccer on the side, I always feel like when we were growing up, they always told you to be a well-rounded person, right? Like try to care about the humanities, like know what's going on in the world. Like I still remember the current events class with Mr. V and all of that in high school. And I really enjoyed that back then.
Thank you for making the Joust About Careers podcast part of your day. I hope you learned valuable information from this career story. And to be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for spending a portion of your day with me. And as always, come back next week to learn even more just about careers.